This is StarCraft 2. What do we have here for you right now is a Discord submitted game by individuals who want their game casted as well as reviewed. So we're going to find out who wins this matchup. I actually don't know what the name of the person submitting it was. They didn't clarify. At least if they did, I didn't pay attention to the message. I wanted to keep as much of a mystery as I possibly can. That way, just share this adventure together. Really get into the mystery and the fun of the fog of war between these matches here. Early wall off by the Protoss here, which is something I'm more akin to actually seeing. Is that natural base getting walled off. Zerg is probably going to go with the second natural before the spawning pool. Yep, that's been a constant or a regular trend lately. It's interesting seeing that early hatchery before even the spawning pool. We don't even have the spawning pool up yet. I'm used to Zerglings being out, basically getting pumped out as soon as possible. But I mean, this was years ago, so a lot of strategies, tactics, and ideas have changed. We have a drone coming up here, 15 out of 16 workers, really pumping out those minerals as much as possible. From here on out, when I say two comparison numbers, such as 15 to 18, the first number is going to be the Zerg, with the second number being the Protoss. And that's going to help me out being able to convey what the stats are in between the two individuals, such as currently we have a 700 to almost 800. And it's jumping around a little bit in the minerals per minute. Spawning pool does come up for the Zerg player, focusing heavily on the economy. A second expansion by the Protoss is following very closely by 19 to 20 workers in comparison. And a good wall-off is en route for the Protoss. Getting scanned here by the Overlord to see if any shenanigans is going to be actually happening. Go down here and we're going to see. Good little Overlord placement. Able to see that this is getting worked out as fast as possible. Alright. I'm going to skip forward. I'm going to move just a little faster in this game. This is I'm used to seeing more of a proxy bases being built. This is just a surprise for the Zerg player. Oh. Excuse me, this is actually a good move because I, for some reason, was thinking right. Now, what's fun about this almost gets scouted by the Zerg Overlord here. I don't know what ranking these players are by now, so this is double Stargate proxy. Now, if the Zerg player is smart, they're going to recognize something that's up, not seeing a lot of things. Forges that heavy focus on workers, 35 to 29. Zerg is ahead. Really pulling ahead in that economy. The question is going to be whether or not Zerg is going to this early air aggression, which is going to come as a surprise instead of one of these oracles going to attack. It's going to be more than one. So far, 2 oracles. A third oracle is on the way. That means more energy and a higher possibility of knocking out more drones. And with only one queen here on the defensive, if the Oracle's capable of sniping that queen, that's going to be bad news for the Zerg player here. I don't know how long this match is, so that'll probably be an indicator. We have 2 queens in the lower ground, 3 bases for the Zerg, with the Protoss building in extra gateways. So there's probably going to be a prison, a warp prison, somewhere in the works here to be able to spawn in reinforcing Zerg, or not Zerg, but Zealots and Stalkers as soon as this attack comes underway. Both sides pretty even, neck and neck on the worker counts. Focusing on Roach. Zerg forces. We got speedlings out of the way. So we're probably going to have Roach Ravagers and Zerglings. We're going to find out information. Those oracles standing by. This is... Does he notice? The Overlord does spot this Stargate, but now the question is, and the Oracle, now the question is, is the Zerg actually paying attention? He does. This is the camera. Zerglings quick to move out and knock that out as fast as possible. 5 oracles to the Zerg's main base. They are not going to, they're going to do a lot. One queen goes down, 3, 4 queens go down. Drones deciding to hide underneath them as they're hiding, and just like knocking down one drone after another. This is going to be really ugly for the Zerg to deal with. Spore Crawler coming up, but not. There's too many oracles for the Zerg to be able to handle this. This is probably going to be GG. More drones on the way. Oracles running out of energy to be able to do any kind of damage. With a lair in mutation. A single queen left behind. And that's going to get taken out too. Spore Crawlers on the way. I mean, like, yeah, building Spore Crawlers would be a high priority at this point, as well as trying to push any kind of attack you can as the Zerg player, because that was ugly. Worker count 8 to 44. Absolutely rough setback for the Zerg player, with Zealots and Stalkers getting ready to move out and attack. We have a small clash here in the middle of the map. Oracles supporting these groups. With a number of roaches, some Zerglings. Army supply is 56 to 45, so that's... Zerg does have the army supply advantage, but the question is that going to be enough to not just stop this force here, but be able to push back against the Protoss and recover from this massive economic setback? 24 roaches. How many roaches actually? We're gonna do an actual count here. 25 roaches here on the map. We got 8 Stalkers and 7 Zealots with some oracles that are pretty much low on power. So let's see this play out here. Just a little bit of a straight up wall in the center of the map. Zerg knocking out this army. Don't know if this is the best idea for Protoss to fight, especially if you can hide behind this wall, but Blink isn't up. Here we go, trying to save as many forces as possible, and then using that wall as a good barricade. This is not fully... Oh no. It's not fully walled off on both sides, so roaches are able to go in, but because they are getting funneled, this is very bad for the Zerg player, getting just like one, or having to stream in 2 at a time, one on the others, and just getting concave attacked. And what I thought the Zerg was going to just absolutely wipe the floor with that army, Protoss was able to use these structures as that funneling advantage, where most of the roaches weren't able to fight. Way to turn that around, Protoss. That was well played. 23 workers on the board versus 44. We're going to see if the Protoss decides to push the advantage. And those workers that have just come out are not going to pay for themselves until a little over a minute, as workers in their highest efficiency. That's basically 2 minerals, or 2 drones, 2 workers per mineral patch will pay for themselves in a little over a minute. So right now we have this massive investment into workers, but is that going to pay off? Zerg needs to last just long enough, and they have nothing. 27 army to 29. Where's that? We have Zerglings and Hydralisks. Smart move to get Hydralisks out, but it's going to be a rough fight. Those Spore Crawlers able to provide enough air cover to shoot away these orcers. But at least we're going to find out here. We have fearing losing any of the orcers. I mean, like going after one, but that's not working. set up right here. Protoss still greatly in the lead economically, having quite a bit of money in the bank, and really just building a focus on any kind of upgrades. A lot of shield batteries, so a lot of money has been spent on kind of these defensive measures here. Building up the economy. Forges are down, but nothing researching. So, not necessarily well spent green. Looks like Protoss isn't quite sure what to do with this. Having a hard time building up more Stargates to go back to that skytoss army. It's a lot worse than that. Plenty of work beats. Now here's the thing, Protoss doesn't have either the knowledge or confidence that they can take this out. And this, like, there's no defense here. But at the same time, this isn't a big force. It will draw a lot of attention if he attacks with it. And these are the no queen present. There's not really a lot of work. It's three. Maybe to build a hatchery, like a proxy hatchery or something. Probably this way. You can't. Right now, Zerg needs every single throwing that it can. Good placement by the Stasis. And this, boom, it locks them out. Those Zerglings are not going to be coming into play. Archons using their AoE damage to knock down a lot of those Zergs. And the Protoss push back a little bit to try to draw them off of that creep. More drones entering this fight for some strange reason, but maybe just to soak up a little bit more damage. Hatchery does come down to replace this diminished hatchery here. Let's use drones. Really just relaxing on the company dime. We're just going to chill out for a second. Archons standing guard way away from their base, but with recall up, that'll be easily fixed here, and it's probably going to get used here in just a second. Zerglings come in for a distracting run by. Yep, there's that recall. Which, what that does is it causes the Protoss player to now focus on the defensive and stay off guard. So instead of the Protoss getting comfortable where they're sitting, they are now having to try to know or recognize that they can be attacked and they need to play a little bit more defensively, even if they are in the lead. So this is really good play by the Zerg player. And there's not a lot of surface area for the Zerg can just throw Zerglings at this and do enough distracting damage to cause the Protoss player to retreat back home and try to deal with whatever the Zerg throws at them. 67 to 40 army supply. Zerg has taken the lead and it looks like has taken the upper hand in this fight. Oracles are fighting, attacking this hatchery, and they go down for almost free, but that's a punch in the gut right there. Protoss had the advantage, and they are now starting to fall a little behind. 2, 3. Zerg is expanding fast. We have +1 melee upgrade, or ranged upgrade for the Zerg. And being attacked by the Zergs, Protoss' southern area, doing a great job actually. 85 army supply to 10. Protoss is now on the full-on defense, building cannons. Way too much money. Like, just a lot of money to spend here. Just simply crank out more and more zealots and do some of those +1 researches. Or research would give you an edge, Protoss player. This is going to be a hard fight. We're about to lose the base, and this is rough. Great comeback by the Zerg player, taking this on the offensive and keeping the Protoss player on the defensive. And now Protoss is going to be stuck at 2 nearly completely mined bases on it. Wow. It's going to be down to 1 base, 1 mine base. versus six mining bases for the Zerg player. Building up a second or a third nexus to replace the one that was just lost, but this number supply, 103 versus 54, Zerg might be aware that they have the advantage here, even opting to not attack the army, but split their forces to attack the army and the base, which is not what you want to see when you're on the defensive here, because that means that your enemy is aware that they have superior numbers, and that less than their full force can attack your forces. Oh, we have carriers on the field. This is going to definitely equalize the fight, depending on how well we do against those Hydralisks. Those Hydralisks not enough rounds. Or those fighters. Those fighters cost 5 minerals each. Right now, that's not a big deal, because there's a lot of money in the bank. That does add up. The carriers starting off with 4 fighters and having to resupply. And if they're not careful, those carriers are about to go down from the Hydralisk in the question. Knock down the Hydralisk as much as possible, or stop the Zergs and the Roaches from doing more economic damage. One way or another, this Zerg is going down. Protoss able to save a lot of its probes with carriers out of position, trying to play on the offensive, but now the Russian side of things is getting knocked down with more and more of those pylons getting destroyed. The Zerg not focusing fire on the production itself, but just doing as much damage as they can, which isn't a terrible idea. Knocking down those pylons as soon as possible would be a massive setback. That's Protoss would not only not be able to put down your army, but also if they get supply blocked and you knock out those probes, then if by some miracle you knock out those probes, that means they can't build probes. They have to lose their army in order to build more probes. So that's tricky. More Hydralisks on the back burner there. And I wouldn't be surprised if Zerg decides to go straight up more and more Hydralisks, which looks like it's going to go in here, and also build up to 4 Corruptors, which would be the appropriate counter to the Protoss, but we have 4 Zerg drones just chilling. So this is a little bit of lost economy, lost potential, but Zerglings and Hydralisks, Zerglings are going to try to soak up damage, letting Hydralisks here and shoo away these carriers. These carriers are not cheap. They take forever. They take a long time to build up. This is an expensive force, but this skytoss is probably going to push away or do quite a significant amount of damage to the Zerg. Right now, Zerg should be building as many spore crawlers as they possibly can on every single base and every single part of the creep that they can afford. And they can't afford it. 3,400 in the bank. That would basically neutralize those carriers. Carriers are species. Yep, here we go. 6 carriers on the battlefield, building more. So this is going to be a mass carrier fleet as this Protoss decides to go 100% carriers. And it's now getting... Oh. Wow. I did not expect this. All right, well, let's return the game. And we're going to go back and analyze just a little bit about what went wrong and what could have been done. We're going to do a pause here. We have a number of carriers on the map, and it looks like the Protoss player is trying to figure out what to do exactly with those carriers against this potentially lethal Zerg force. Now, against Hydralisk, Zealots basically walking underneath these carriers would be a great addition, because those Zealots would be able to stop and soak up not only the Zerglings, but they are a great force to be reckoned with against the Hydralisks. And it would force the Zerg player to actually have to figure out if they want to attack the Zealots or the carriers. They'll attack the carriers and get wiped out by the Zealots. And Zealots' costs are expensive, but they are cheaper than the Hydralisks. Behind an army supply, probably not aware of that, having the gateways there would let you warp in a warp prism to be able to plant down anywhere and just pump out zealots would probably be helpful. Especially since now that spore crawlers are becoming more and more of a thing over here. Any kind of attack by just even a dozen or so zealots, easier said than done, of course, would be rather devastating here. We only have a maximum of a layer up, no spore crawl or no spore or sorry, no air units for the Zerg, and just a very healthy economy. Wow, that was an amazing turnaround by the Zerg player. That was rough. Because the Zerg didn't stop expanding. They droned up as much as they can. Zerg was on the back burner. They were on the defensive for a while. It was just that Protoss didn't have the confidence to continue pressing that attack. Here, we're going to back up here. I want to say, when did the game turn around about? Okay, so here we are. We're almost 7 minutes in. Zerg is trying to knock out proxies and building up those roaches. Those roaches can't shoot up, so carriers are definitely a good counter to roaches and Zerglings because, hey, you know, if you can't shoot me, what are you going to do, right? Zerg is doing a good job macroing up and managing their economy as much as possible. Just amazing to see this in play, too. Just how quickly the Zerg did everything it could correctly in rebuilding as many drones as possible to get this up. And that recovery is what allowed the Zerg player to fight. Protoss could have expanded twice and cranked out workers, but didn't. I'm assuming didn't have the confidence to do so. Here we go. We got Stalkers inbound, which Stalkers have a hard time against Zerglings and Roaches unless you micromanage them properly. Zealots are just good at creating that front line. This bread and butter mix of Zealots and Stalkers is fantastic. That wall backing off here was the smart thing to do and really just turned that around for the Zerg. Just suffer massive losses. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I wasn't paying attention to the losses here, but I'm going to wager a guess that the Zerg was ahead in losses this entire match and relying on these extra bases to compensate for this. Great strategy here. Just hold on. Oracles could have probably been better placed, just staying on the back burner and recharging stuff we can attack that should have been a disaster. That should have been game over with those Zerglings rushing in, because that would have been. Where are all of his workers? Okay, they were all right here. Yeah, that should have been. The Zerg should have just ran in there and done as much economic damage as possible, but missed that opportunity. Okay, good wall off over here with the pylon. Something needs to stay there as much as possible. It is absolutely incredible that the Zerg missed those opportunities time and time again. So definitely in favor of that. Hydralisk Den coming up, I suppose, like initially just for those oracles. There's not enough spore crawlers here to take down those carriers. Those carriers, man. God, that should have been the win, but that's okay. This is how we learn. Skip forward here just a little bit. We have a run by up here with the oracles. This 36 to 29 army supply, so the Stalkers definitely cannot fight this. But some sort of attack, some sort of any kind of pressure that you can apply on the Zerg here is going to keep the Zerg constantly guessing. But right now the Zerg is able to just drone up as much as possible in relative peace, and that lets them calm their mind and try to recover. I have no idea what these drones are even doing. This is the weirdest thing. What is that? That is the weirdest. I've never seen that before, like drones just accidentally kept in the army. These Archons, fantastic addition, as well as High Templar, especially if you have Psionic Storm researched. Psionic Storm is not researched. That's fine, because these Archons can get a lot of work done. A Warp Prison would have popularization, Archons that were juggling, and that can be different. This was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, setting up the stasis ward and knocking out those Zerg, giving you a little bit more time to reposition those. This line right here, absolutely fantastic. One like that. You have the Stalkers in the back, High Templar in the back, Archons in the front with the Zealots doing a massive amount of damage. This is just fantastic. Deciding to withdraw from the fight, Zerg assumes this is secure and builds the hatchery. Assumes that they have total control over here and is going to be able to recover from this. Zerglings. So the stasis ward is now over because of those drones, man. Let's see what else is happening. God, all these resources. Just think that would have been like 38 Zealots just constantly warping in right now, getting work done. Would have, like, this army could not handle that. Zerglings running up to the secondary base, and here it is. So this little distraction, you don't need a lot either. You only need just a few workers or a few units to attack a base that's not defended, to cause your opponent, wow, that sucks, just a few minutes, to recall everything, put that on cooldown, and now the Zerg completed his task, not even doing any economic damage, causes stress for the player, good distractions. So now the Protoss is settling up, and even knocking these guys out for free, is now refocusing and trying to figure out what to do. And this is stressful. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to jump on. Another Archon being made. It's hard to focus on the fact that there's a lot of resources in the bank for the Protoss to be dealing with. Although these, knowing now that this is on reserve in order to get that fleet beacon up. Where's the fleet beacon? There it is. Fleet beacon about to be summed up in order to kill as many carriers as possible. Makes a whole lot of sense. Good little fight here. As a distraction, this is fantastic. Ask yourself, like, what's the goal of this? What's the goal of this fight? What are you trying to do? And attacking with these units makes the Zerg think about how to counter. How do I counter these units? And if you build units that are countered by roaches, they're not going to see the carriers coming. God, this is a really good game. Hydralisks are on the map, knocking out those Hydralisks as soon as possible is a good idea, especially if you just build, again, a whole lot of Zealots, hit the ground, attack those Hydralisks, make it seem like you're doing a ground-based army, and it'll be too late for the Zerg to really fight back when they crank out the roaches. Great fight here. Well, not paying attention. Now paying attention. Zealots warping in. A lot of Zealots warping in. All those Zealots being lost. See, that's demoralizing right there. I can just imagine that, just trying to warp in Zealots. And then the focus fire on the pylon. That's that warp. And see here, we got Zerg is still ahead on the losses. And this, little too late, but good try. Great work warping in Zealots here. We're going to see this fight in just a second. I think this fight actually ends. Yeah, here we go. Fight comes up. Roaches and Hydralisks versus Zealots and Stalkers. Fall back. Photon cannons get knocked out pretty quickly. And this is a one-sided fight. There's not enough Protoss. So all you can do is try to delay as much as possible, especially since you're getting carriers out. And that's fine. That's fine. That's totally fine. Delay, delay, delay. That's all you can do. Don't throw away units. See, right now, any units going up on the map here, like if this base was under attack, this Zerg would pull up all of these forces and go up here to attack this, to try to defend that base, protect it. A lot of these carriers are coming out. And then like as your army is getting decimated up here, bring up the carriers and just knock out one base after another. And continue on. So now we have heavy losses on the Protoss side. Obviously as well. Good distraction here. Taking the army away to try to do as many of the forces as possible. So it's a good strategy. Just going back here with they're going to attack them. Rough spot to try to get Zealots behind the lines and getting up to Zealots in the fight. Pretty quickly. Zealots actually getting out of it. You can see that. Massively outnumbered. The Zealots delayed that fight. Or ability to get as much as possible. And this is fantastic. This routes the Zerg army. Zerg can't counter this. And I think when the Zerg actually sees the carriers, they're not entirely sure what exactly is going to do. Because this force here is unstoppable right now. Especially since, so now, at this point, shooing away the Zerg, they're going to do as much damage as they can. Build up bases and continue carrier production as much as possible. And go on the offensive. More Zergs going down. Does the carrier go down? One carrier does go down. One carrier has gone down. It's not the end of the world. As long as you have probes and money in the bank, you can fight this. And this does feel like a setback. This is stressful to watch your base get pummeled. Sending a couple carriers or add more carriers are not going to get more back. That's it. Smoke it. No. More carriers are going to come out here. But this is stressful. Like I said, this is stressful for the Protoss here. So I have to be watching your base get knocked down. Okay. And as the Zerg, this is a great move. As much damage as you can to move on the production. Make it as expensive as possible to use this army. They don't have more counter. Zerg, however, is the only thing that you can do is Hydralisks, but not probably still a split. Do not have the expensive carriers. This is a lot of fun. Right now, first thing, the very recovering this as much as possible and building out carriers as much as possible, and then sending this fleet to any mining base that you possibly can should have been key. This needed to happen. Zerglings can't shoot up. Hydralisks are the only thing. Queens going to fight back. We had it in the bank. Let's see what this can do. Skip ahead here. This is great. Let's see what happens here. Building down the Hydralisks. Shoot away. Demoralized. Can't fight this. That's fine because right here we have this attention. The Zerg is now paying attention to this that carrier behind it as much as possible. And how to survive but behind this build as much as possible. Build up a couple nexuses and start really cranking up those workers. Happens. counterattacking their base. Zerg is going to try to defend their base. But right now, he thinks that he can attack again. I think that's actually what the plan is to do, is to come up here and attack. But then you get counterattacked and destroyed right here by these Zerglings. A couple carriers here would have actually defended this. You don't know. Zerg team is taking time to put a lead in the center of the map and go back as fast as possible. Seeing most of the rough game. Rough game. GG.